Flawless.
I want to be disinformed.
I mean,
Flawless.
is that
We
just
don't
pretty
wanna
much
get
everyone in
involved
the
with all
world,
them
right?
lawyers. Is my
Speak
mic
for
loud enough?
yourself.
We good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I've got it in an interface today, so it's a lot easier.
I
to control.
cannot hear you, Keith, and personally, that's the way I like it. I
Oh, look at that hand.
I'm not even starting on the right video. There we go. Now it's else. I just had Anderson's big face on everything.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was good. But yeah, it's fun.
Look at this. Look at this shirt.
Yeah.
So this is it's off-brand Legos because it doesn't say Lego on each stud.
Yeah.
This is a gift from my grandmother. She got me this shirt.
Does your son have a matching one?
He has a matching pair of shorts.
Oh.
He does have a shirt that is black and has like a bar of this across the middle.
I feel like you could wear the shorts, right?
I could wear the shorts around one leg.
One leg.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That actually sounds pretty good.
So yeah, earlier I was wearing this with my cardigan and my fuzzy moose socks because I was cold. So I was like full dad mode.
Do you have like cold feet normally?
I cannot regulate my body temperature. I'm always freezing.
So last time I went to a doctor, they asked me if they were like, "Is there anything else wrong with you?" I was like, "Well, my feet get really cold." And the doctor said, "Well, are you a woman?" And I stopped seeing him immediately after that.
You're like, all right.
I was like, you asked, and I gave you an answer.
Are you a woman? Did he shoulder check you on your way out?
Well, and that's what's crazy. I mean, my wife Laura, she's always toasty.
She's just a heater.
Well, and now she's pregnant, so she's like an oven, literally. So.
No.
I get it. A bun in the oven.
I mean, it's kind of literal.
It's adorable. Oh my gosh. Hey, do you guys want to talk about what you're working on though?
Sure.
Hey, all right. Let's go back to you, Anderson. What are you working on right now?
I am flatting this page that Keith illustrated. So I'm flatting it, just preparing it for inks. This is issue 3.
My police comic.
Yeah.
The joke is if you back up, it looks like the cover of
The Police.
Synchronicity.
The band.
The album. Yeah. You just have to, I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
No, but it's yeah. So this is kind of grunt work, just in the sense of like file setup stuff. So, but it's
like you could just mess up all of Keith's art and just ruin his career.
No, he's too good for that. But I could ruin my career by doing very bad colors on his beautiful art.
This is what I was referencing. Yeah. See?
There we go.
Oh, just because of the bright colors.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have seen a book before though where like the art was really good and the colors were just rough. Like where I was like, man, I feel like this is a good book, but this is actually really distracting. And it's always kind of surprising to me when something like that happens because I'm like, you don't think of the colors as necessarily being much more than just a fun little addition.
Well, it's one of those things where like
that's absurd.
Colors and letters just kind of like are built to not be noticed, really.
Yes. When you notice it, it's usually because they're wonky.
Exactly. So, but
a lot of times
you,
I look at. Well, I was thinking a lot of times I look at a lot of people's artwork. If you just look at the line work, it's not anything. Like it's all in the colors.
It's all lines.
Yep.
And I normally don't really like it when I see that. Meaning like the end product isn't very good.
Yeah.
Because
one of my professors in school, all of our assignments with him were in black and white. and people would complain about it. He was like, well, if it works in black and white, it will work in color. But if it only works in color, then it's not working.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, I'm working on a Johann Constantine.
Johann
And,
Constantine.
Johannes.
Kristian, you need to bump your volume up
Okay.
so you can hear those pipes. Anyway, but I'm
Probably
trying
need
to
face
ink
the
it.
mic more.
I bought a new brush.
A dagger.
Yeah, I got this striper brush.
Ooh, fancy.
It's a dagger brush, so it's a all right, and there. So it's a 1/4 inch silver black velvet striper. Some people call them dagger brushes, but a lot of people who do like pinstriping, use them because you can get a really fine point at the end of a fairly long brush. So like you can get really long fluid strokes with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you can get a really tight point and really. I can just right. So we can go from little tiny. Let me top off.
You're kind of blown out your lights,
Yeah.
so it's hard to see it.
Yeah, I can't really do anything about that.
You might just need to do the lines and then pull them up to the camera for us to
Put
see
your
them.
hand over to kind of hide the light a little bit. Yeah, perfect. Now draw on your hand.
There you go.
Like, can you still not really see it?
You can see it a little bit right there.
The point is that you can get really tiny lines with it, and you can get really thick lines with it
Ooh.
from the same brush in the same stroke.
How much ink does it hold?
A
Like,
lot of
do you
ink.
find yourself constantly dipping, or?
No.
Not that much. That much
Now
ink.
I'm getting. Now I'm still not in a space where I can comfortably dry brush with this. It'll still hit a pocket of ink, so
Okay.
about that much. But when you get it wet, it actually gets this. So you can ink with it and get it to get this nice curve,
Yeah.
which makes it so that you can like see what you're doing a little bit before you do it.
Oh, interesting.
It's nifty.
Anyway, so I got this. It's finicky. So I decided to just get this so that I could practice with this brush.
I feel like I learn so much from you guys where I don't have to go to SCAD. It's so nice listening to you guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I mean,
I've saved money, so I appreciate it.
yes, you're welcome for sure.
I neglected to go to SCAD as well.
No,
Did
you
you go
just
to-
went to police academy.
Oh yeah, that's where you went. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of your movie. That's cool. But yeah, I think
Anyway.
I only went to Kennesaw, so I got a business degree. That was good. It's fun times. Yeah. But yeah, what have you guys been working on in the past few months?
I do want to say, as soon as I started this, I wanted to get out like the Pentel brush pen. Just, I mean, it was just like, but I'm forcing myself to use this. I'm going to try to.
No, you should. Yeah.
I'm gonna
There's
try to
nothing
do it
more
with-
painful than learning a new tool because you're like, I know how to do this with other things.
Yeah, I'm going to try to get this whole thing done with only this.
Especially while it's being recorded. So no pressure.
Yeah, don't mess up, bro.
People on YouTube can see it.
I am in the middle of when I'm not. I like to color on the stream because I can talk while doing it. I can't really. I could talk while inking, but I don't have my camera set up for that. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. But I am in the middle of penciling and inking my baseball comic.
That's cool.
I
yeah,
have
you've
the
been-
first.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, I've been posting like basically character art from the world to my Instagram.
Yeah.
Different. I made baseball cards for
I like
all
that
the
a
different
lot.
teams.
I think that was a really cool idea.
So I've actually printed out 3 of them. Let me grab them.
Ooh. And now he's gone. Keith, what do you think about the business card or the baseball cards?
I like him. I think he should have gotten more of his buds in on that.
Yeah. Okay, so I did 3 different characters, but this is the main one because this is like the image. This is like the series image.
Ooh, fancy.
But I made these cards. There's like little information about the character, and then there's a QR code to scan on the back. But this QR code doesn't work, so I had to do a workaround, and I got a new QR code that does work. And as stickers, and I'm gonna have to go and put a sticker on the back of all of these.
That's fun.
Well, Laura would like to help me too because she loves me.
Aw, gonna make your pregnant wife work for you for free.
Yeah, that's basically it. So the lesson to take away from that is research your QR codes. The problem is I just did like the first one. And it's free for 14 days, and then it starts to chart, and then you have to pay for it. But it had never taken any credit card information from me, so I just assumed that it was free. But then after 14 days, when it had already printed, it said, "Hey, your free trial has ended on this. If you'd like to continue, you can pay for it." And at that point, I was like, "Ah, shoot."
Yeah.
But I did find a free one.
Yeah, I had a similar.
What was your issue?
When I did the flyers for my second Kickstarter, I was like putting out flyers at comic book stores and stuff like that. And then one of the comic book stores messaged me. He's like, "Hey, this isn't working." And then I got the email that day saying that your QR code time limit has drawn. So it was cool. It was great.
Yeah. It was very infuriating. And then I was like researching, I was like, okay, how can I fix this? I could just reprint all the cards, and then all of these are just useless.
Yeah.
But it was cheaper to find stickers that would just cover the error. Yeah. And it's annoying because it's not going to be as like crisp product really, because it's gonna have like a sticker back here. So that's a little disappointing, but in the long run I think is the best choice, and it'll work. So
are you gonna put it in like card sleeves?
I do have some. These I'm gonna be giving these away like candy at cons. These are like the business cards, like take it. But yeah, I do. I did just launch a Patreon, and one of the things I'm offering people is I'll send you all 3 of them because there's 3 different characters. I'll send you all 3 of them signed, physically if you sign up for Patreon.
That's cool. By the way, Luke Sparrow says "Hola."
Hello, Sparrow.
Oh, is that what you call that guy?
I mean, it's what I call him now. Yeah. Luke has the coolest signature because
arrow.
Yeah, it's just fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, did you? I don't know. It was like 4 months ago or something. He just came out of nowhere with like his stuff was like I'm like not like his stuff was bad, but it was like something happened. And it was like he turned a page.
He got good.
And was just doing it just felt like it was a whole different level of something. I don't know if you remember that.
I feel like I don't see people on Instagram anymore. I didn't notice before. I've only recently found him. So
okay.
Good work, bro. That's what I have to say.
That's cool.
But Keith knew you win, apparently.
He knew you before you got good, apparently.
Yeah, we I've parasocial known that guy for a couple years.
Parasocial.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
So
what about you, Keith? What you been up to?
Yeah, what have you been working on?
You got your dagger, but
I got my dagger. So I don't know if have I talked about my comic on this yet?
Not really.
No.
Because the last time you sent it to us to look at, I think you sent the second version right at the
Okay.
beginning of the stream last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so I got my own book that I've got. It's a 4-issue thing. It's all plotted out,
Mm-hmm.
and I scripted the first issue and then did a really rough, not a really rough, a really tight layout thing with all the bubbles. So I could send it to my people.
It was incredibly tight.
Yeah. It was like, it wasn't pencils, not close, but it was a lot more
could have
time
been.
spent. It was something where I wanted to be able to see the thing, and I wanted
Yeah.
to be able to show it to people, and when I wanted the people to see it and see what I mean, because if
Yeah.
I just sent what I was doing as a script, I don't think people would like understand it as well. It wouldn't make as much sense. So I went
Yeah.
through the trouble of like basically making a readable comic and then giving it to people so that they could give me just as much, just kill me. And and then I took a month away from it and to get some perspective and to just kind of let the juices kind of mingle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back
That's
to
a
it
gross
earlier
analogy,
this
but
week.
I get it.
Salty. But yeah, I came back
Ew.
to it earlier
Just
this
gets
week,
worse.
and I had a bunch of epiphanies. I rescripted, like I went through the whole thing, tightened it up in a big way, and then I started penciling it yesterday, and I'm on page 4.
Nice. I saw you do the 3 and then go for 4. So
Yeah, because I'm on page 4.
yeah.
I've
That's
completed
impressive.
3 pages. But yeah, I'm pretty. I like. Yeah, I'm liking where it's at enough that I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and go in and not do another round of. Hey, tell me what you thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it definitely like I figured out some things about like what the main character is and what his role in the world is in a way that sets up. That's what I was saying about future things. Like it sets
Yeah.
up why he can be a person that goes around doing stuff. And
Cool.
and it was in a way that was weirdly satisfying when it clicked in my head. And then when I did some cursory research on how I could connect that to other things, the pieces just fell right into place in a weird way.
Did you already have like the
Nice.
ending planned out?
For the 4th issue?
Yeah, like the complete story. Like you knew what direction you were going for.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Like I said, the whole thing was plotted out.
Does it have a name yet?
Yeah. It's the one it's Graceland.
Yeah. I was just trying to get you to tell the listeners.
Okay.
Exclusive.
Well, because it's still close to the chest on all this stuff. But yeah, it's a comic. It's called Graceland.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe the genre. Kristian, feel free to.
No,
jump in
I
on
don't
that.
either. There's a skeleton man and a pterodactyl, so I kind of feel like it's all over the place. In a good way.
I mean, it definitely gives off like a fantasy adventure style, but but not like in a like, I don't know the best way to describe it.
I almost feel like not just to blow smoke up you, but
Completely to blow
it's
smoke.
kind of got that Mobius energy where you're just like, I mean, it's sci-fi, but it's fantasy.
Like the Jared Leto movie.
But it's just kind of it's all over the place, not in a messy way, but in a free way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And like the Mobius thing isn't something that I thought about, but you saying that, I'm like, oh yeah.
You guys are
I
mispronouncing
totally get that.
Morbius. So sad. It's kind
I
of
prefer
embarrassing.
Madam Web.
Madam Web.
To each their own, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
But yeah,
it's
so it's at a spot where I'm and it's frustrating because I'm one of those people that has had idea after idea after idea my entire life, and then I start researching like, okay, so I want to set this story in the 20s in New York, and so I'm like and then before I know it, I'm researching like how did the sewer systems in New York work?
Yeah.
Like I get too far in the weeds, and then I never make the thing,
Yeah.
and that's I'm a lot of other people can relate to that, like over and over again. And this is the first thing that's like completely like boom, boom, boom. I know what I wanted to do, and it's coming together and like quick, and I'm making
It's good. That's really good.
Very
That's
happy
something
about that.
I've experienced something sort of similar in terms of drawing robots.
Mhm.
I just the idea of like getting hung up in the minutia of it all. Because for a while was drawing like all characters in the baseball comic, I'm like, well, the robotics have to actually work. Like I had to like draw like a functioning arm or whatever. But I just started to shift into I'm not gonna be able to do that. I'm not a robotics guy. I can do plenty of research. I can make it look sexy, but I need to kind of let go of that and make the thing.
For stories, once you like set the rules of like, hey, what's possible and what's not possible,
right?
There's a certain point where like the research is going to hinder that, and you just need to like a lot of stories. Like the last story that I wrote, it was definitely a lot of research that I did, but I didn't want to take too much from it. I just wanted to know enough to kind of create like certain rules in the story with like the cryptids and stuff like that. But after that, that's when I was like, okay, now I can expand it on my own. And these characters are being treated that way, or this is how they exist in this world. So it's research is great, but you can also be hindered by it if you're just trying to follow it too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I've tried not to over explain things, which I feel like in both your guys' stories, you guys do not over explain things.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope there's plenty of room for. I sent one of my scripts to some friends for review, and they came back with a bunch of questions like about the world. Like, well, how does this work? What about this? And I was really grateful because like some of them were things that were being answered later in that same issue, and some of them were in the next chapter. Or like I was like, okay, I'm already thinking about these things, and I'm glad that people are like curious about what's going on there.
Yeah.
And then some I was like, I'm never gonna answer that.
Was like one of the questions like, well, do they have robotic football as well?
No, I haven't gotten that yet.
Okay.
Although I was talking at the dinner table tonight about what if super space rodeo, because my son has gotten into bull riding.
Ooh.
Oh.
That's
and by gotten into, I mean he enjoys watching it and making me be a bull that he rides.
I mean, how old is he now?
He is 3.
Oh, okay.
Adorable.
He might be a little too young for the whole sheep rustling thing.
Oh no, but he's right around the corner. Although he sucks at holding on to things. Like
I'm sorry, the sheep wrestling thing?
Have you never seen this?
No. What is that?
Dude, they strap like a 10-year-old child to a sheep. And by strap, I mean they tell the kid, hold on.
Yeah,
and then the sheep.
Yeah, you just like, it's just like death grip onto the sheep. They put a little helmet on them, and the sheep goes.
Yeah. And the sheep doesn't like buck or anything, but it just runs. It's just like, and it is the funniest thing ever.
That sounds like just like a normal American thing.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. It's very all American. Pretty great.
I appreciate that.
Keith, is this right here? This area, is this meant to be a negative space, or is this the butt of the barrel? I can't quite tell.
That's a negative space.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the background.
Okay, I see that now.
So Anderson is coloring stuff that I drew 2 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got to be fun to look at this, I'm sure.
It's
so sorry.
Do you have printed versions of the first comic you did, Keith?
Of this?
Yeah.
No, it hasn't been published.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's being published. Okay, cool.
Yes.
I didn't know if you
Yeah,
were self-publishing it. That's cool.
No. This
was contract work.
Ooh. Fancy.
And fancy, but no, it's not been published. And
it's basically waiting on me.
Wow.
Yep.
Hindering his livelihood.
I don't think there would be that much money. It's 4 issues, and they've all been, inked and turned in and all that. And I think that if it gets released this year, it'll be in October.
Nice.
Because it's sort of a horror book. And they go through Diamond, and Diamond does a bunch of pushing for their horror books in October.
Mm-hmm.
So they want it to hit as well as they can. So they plan to do that. They tried to get it into Free Comic Book Day this year, but that didn't work.
Yeah. Well, that's a bummer.
So we'll see if I can get it done in the next 1 or 2 months, and then we should be dandy.
Honestly, if you get it done tonight, they might be able to get into Free Comic Book Day.
No, they didn't want it.
Oh.
It has to be accepted. They're snobs about it.
Oh. Ew. Gross.
I know, right?
They said no,
awful.
thank you.
Ew.
Well, just print it off yourself and just... That's what I always do. Just print it off yourself and do whatever you want with it. You won't get in trouble.
That's not a... No, I got my new thing. That's old.
That's old.
I did write it.
You did.
Which was I wasn't supposed to be the person writing it. That was a weird how that happened, but here we are.
So funny. Anyways, you guys want to talk about books?
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah. So, we're just gonna chat about a few of our favorite books. We're gonna do a little bit of subject talk. We kind of talked about it a little bit on text, but from now on, anytime we have these podcasts or YouTube Hangout sesh, I think it's good to have a small subject to talk about, something to get to know each other better about, something for viewers to get to know us better. It'll be fun. But yeah, so today we are going to actually talk about our top 3 novels, or at least current 3 novels that we can remember that we enjoyed. I think that's the best way to putting it.
That we remember.
Yeah. I mean, I had one of the books I put on mine, I didn't think about until today, an hour before we started this.
Yeah, that checks out.
I didn't think about it until, today, period.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess I'm more prepared. It's not a contest. Anyways, but
it always is a contest.
Do either you want to go first, or shall I? You guys have a preference?
Oh no, I want to hear you.
Oh, stop
Mr.
it.
Prepared.
Well, I'm going to start with one that's would be pretty obviously one of my favorites. It's actually a Star Wars book, but it's called The Courtship of Princess Leia. Because it's actually secretly a romance novel disguised as a Star Wars book.
Is that the one with the Night Sisters?
Which one? Sorry.
With the Night Sisters?
Yes, that's exactly the one.
Yeah.
Where they go to Dathomir and then...
Is this the first appearance of the Night Sisters?
I believe so, yeah.
Because I only know them from the Clone Wars series.
Yeah.
And I remember when they were introduced to the Clone Wars series, I was like, this feels way more fantasy than Star Wars normally is, and Star Wars is pretty fantasy. So.
Well, the book I think was made in the 90s.
Okay,
early
then
90s.
yeah.
But
it's a 90s book.
I don't remember the Night Sisters being super witches in the book.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. I did read it in high school. I just remember reading it because I knocked it out in 2 days.
Classic. Yep.
Yeah. It was so good because it was basically Han wanted to marry Princess Leia, but she needed to marry
As one
another
does.
yeah. She needed to marry someone else of royalty, and he was like, "Okay, I understand. Can I show you something?" And then he basically kidnaps her and tries to convince her to like. He's like, "No, we need to be together. We love each other." And
No, it's cool. It's cool, bro.
No, you don't understand. I'm doing this because I love you. And she's like, "You're kidnapping me, and I'm trying to, you know, protect the rest of the galaxy."
I don't
And
like it.
oh, it's such a good book. And then Luke tries to join in, and he's like, "I need to go find them." And I think that's also where you meet Luke Skywalker's wife in the books.
Jade? Is that Jade?
Mara Jade.
Mara Jade.
Yes.
Ooh, still got it.
What a bunch of nerds. I love that. You guys know that.
I know.
Yeah, I have
I feel pretty proud of that.
Yeah. No. I don't still have that one. So that one got lost during many moves. But that was one of my favorites.
Okay.
many
Yeah.
moves.
Many moves.
Let's see. I've got a couple of honorable mentions we might say at the end. But I'll start with The Alchemist by Paulo, and I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his last name, but I think it's Coelho. Coelho.
If you get it
but
wrong,
that-
you will probably be canceled, just so you know.
Probably, yeah.
Sorry.
But anyways, this is it's just a book about a shepherd who, like, wants to have an adventure, and he goes on an adventure. So it's like it's really a classic, like, the journey over the destination type of thing. But there's like a little bit of a mystery to it. There's some adventure. It's a really short read, which is one of my favorite things in books. I'm trying to find a good sci-fi book right now to read, but like all sci-fi books are part of like a 10 novel series, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with like fantasy and sci-fi books.
Yeah, I just want a full story that is great and I can step away from afterwards. And I mean that's kind of how I feel about like most media I consume.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't seen the first Dune because I wanted to be able to watch the Dune movies back to back. And now I don't have a way to watch the first Dune, so I'm doomed.
Isn't it on HBO?
Doomed.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Oh, okay. You can borrow ours if you need it.
Okay. What's your password?
Corinna would be so mad if I said this live.
Just do it over YouTube. That'd be hilarious. No, but it's just a great short. I mean, it's a novel, so it's I don't know how many pages or whatever. I always thought page count was kind of funny, just because books are different size, and I know that that's not exactly how that works, but like, that's just something that's always made me giggle a little bit.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, The Alchemist, good read. I did assume that there would be a little bit more alchemy in it, and there isn't all that much alchemy in it.
Yeah.
But it is. there's other cool stuff. So.
Fun fact about that book as well. There's an audiobook version read by Jeremy Irons.
That's the one I listened to.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
It's very tight. I've forgotten that he read it. I did have to speed it up because his voice, he does kind of drag it out. Like, I mean, it's Scar that we're talking about, right? Yeah. So he's got a really great resonance, but sometimes you'd be like, all right, let's move it along.
He slowly enunciates. Oh yeah, great one. Keith, you got one?
Mine. I will present my copy of Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles.
Woo!
Which this is my copy that I stole from my high school.
Nice.
Part of it is that I just love this as a physical object because it's a small paperback book. It's sub 200 page paperback book that's been hardbound, but it didn't come this way. They send it to a company called Covercraft, and they take books and they hard bind them for libraries. So this is like the Bantam edition of this book that's been bound. I've got another book that's not on my list, but it's the same thing, and I just have it because I love the way it feels. And this
That's
is
cool.
like the Del Rey printing of this, but it still says Covercraft. So I just like these little hardback books. Oh, I can actually hello, little hardback books. But back to the Martian Chronicles. Either of
It's
you
like
read
you're
the
an old
Martian
man.
Chronicles?
Yes, I have.
Nope.
Um, it's Brad. You ever read any Bradbury?
I don't think so.
Ray, our boy. He's he was one of those guys. He was a lot bigger in the 50s and 60s. But
He's one of my faves.
That was
yeah,
before I was born.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
he is for me as far as prose goes. He's the goat for science fiction. Um, like he could just put. I'm not gonna like talk about his like dialogue being great, but the just little sentences, little things, little descriptions.
Yeah.
Um, and but anyway, this particular book, I like I said, I read it in high school. I've read it a few times over the years, and I pulled it out last night because I just wanted to reread one of the short stories in there. And it's a sci-fi novel. Basically, it's about humans. It's a fix-up novel, so it's a bunch of short stories that he wrote and published in science fiction magazines over the years, and then he
Yeah.
realized he could put them all together in a book, and then he revised them all and then wrote a bunch of extra short stories so that they all work together. But it's basically about humans leaving the Earth to populate Mars. There's already Martians there. Ultimately, they end up killing all the Martians and kind of becoming the Martians, and Earth is destroyed and inhospitable to humans. And but it's got it's got stories that are just funny, and it's got stuff that's sad, but the overall tone of it, and probably the reason that it hits for me and I like it so much, is that it's just kind of got this wistful sadness to the whole thing of like this kind of inevitable cyclical, like humans are just kind of always returning to this baseline thing, and it's all just kind of sad.
Yeah.
And there's something about stuff that's just kind of sad that feels right for me. Just tickles my brain in the right way. I mean, there's straight up like I was rereading a story last night, and there was a sentence in there. The sentence was, "And the rain tapped on the empty house, echoing." Like comma echoing. And there's something about that where I was just looking at the sentence, and then I was
It
looking
just
at it
felt
too
right.
long, and I started thinking about it too long, and it started getting to me, and I started like getting like hot in my face, and I was like, "All right, guy, all right."
Come on, Ray.
There's something about like
I imagine you read it and just said, "Oh yeah, that's a good line."
no, it's not that, because I didn't read it and think, "Oh, that was a good line." It was like there was something about it that like sunk into me, and like I was feeling that. And it's such a simple idea, but then when I think about further, like the idea of an empty house and why is it empty, and the sound of rain on it, and that last word echoing, like punches home how empty it is. Like he already said it's empty, and then he said echoing. It's like comma echoing, and then you just feel it even more. But yeah, like I in place of this, I was thinking about A Canticle for Leibovitz, which I've told Anderson about. It's another fix-up novel with a lot of similar themes that I think I like more, but this one is closer to home for me because it's been with me longer.
Yeah.
So that's why I went with this one. Your turn.
That's a good one. I like that. I like that you stole from your local high school library.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Another good Bradbury is the Illustrated Man, and I really like this one for the cover, because it's this
Yeah.
dude
That's the
sitting
one
on
I
a,
have.
and he's got all these tattoos, which are where the stories come from. It's another anthology. Sorry, I hit my mic. and his tattoos come alive and tell stories. So
That's
another
cool.
good Bradbury.
Yeah, I read that one before I read the Martian Chronicles.
That's a nice one. Yeah, so I'll actually give you one of mine that's also a sci-fi book. Uh, this is the issue with a lot of sci-fi stories as well, is that it continues and there's like other short stories afterwards. But mine is going to be Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the first main story. There's not many actual books that have made me laugh after reading the lines. And the fact that there's a line in here that says, nearly 2,000 years after one man had been nailed to a tree for saying how great it would be to be nice for people for a change. And that's like the second paragraph. And I'm like, this is so funny.
That's great.
It's just a great story. The movie I enjoyed a lot.
Do you have a copy of it sitting next to you?
Yep.
Hold it
I'm
up.
not gonna.
Is it the one with the hand on it? Okay, it's
Nah.
it's that one.
This
When
one right here.
Anderson took me to his climbing gym to climb for the first time,
Yeah.
I saw a paperback book on the desk that one of the people at the desk was reading,
Yeah.
and I said, "Oh, I know." Like, all I saw was just kind of the color of it and the color of the text,
Yeah.
and nothing else. I was seeing it from a distance, and I told Anderson, like, "Oh, hey, guy, turn that over," because I knew it was Hitchhiker's Guide, and it's this cover that has the hand up, but there's something about the palm of it that looks so much like a butt. So I got the guy to turn it over, and then I put my hand on it to cover up everything. And the guy looked down. He had a
It was
had
a
a
great
little laugh.
reaction.
It's so
It was
ridiculous.
because the joke was for Anderson, so it was funny to like this guy who's just weirded out. Like, what are you doing, guy?
Why are you touching my
Um,
book?
But, I've read that
So-
book so many times.
I still
got-
have not read this. I need to.
I need to reread it because it's been a while. This version was actually gifted to me, I think like 4 years ago from a friend.
Hmm.
Because I loved the movie and I remember reading a little bit of the short story in the beginning, but then I started reading all of it. I'm like, this is a really good story. I enjoy it, but it's so funny. It's so hard to do comedy in books. It just does it so well. Man, it's good old Douglas
I would,
Adams for you.
Yeah. Something. So you've probably heard of the Discworld books, yeah?
I have.
Terry Pratchett.
God,
There's a whole
that's
bunch of
another
them.
one. That's
Well, what I was saying is like I grew up reading the Hitchhiker's Guide books and other Douglas Adams books a lot growing up, and then in high school I read some of the Discworld books, but then I kind of came back around to them, when I was in my 20s,
yeah.
and it's like Douglas Adams, but with a plot.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that are a lot more genuinely funny and not just kind of like wry, funny, flip things on your head. It's like building things up in a way that has more payoff. And I ended up, even though it's kind of like me with Star Wars, like I like Lord of the Rings better now. Having none of it as a kid, like I only came around to it when I was an adult.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same, where it's like I don't care as much about Hitchhiker's Guide, and those Discworld books are really good.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in getting into them, anybody, like I'd skip the first couple because it takes a little while for him to get his feet under him, because they start out as just like parody books basically of fantasy.
Yeah.
But like
Interesting.
once you get to there's like Equal Rights is probably the first one where I was like, yeah. Or Mort. Mort is about a kid that becomes the apprentice to death, which is
Classic.
pretty fun.
Good
And
name.
Equal Rights is about a young girl that wants to become a wizard, but in this universe, men are wizards, women are witches. It's called Equal Rights, Rites.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Yep. That's clever.
And so
This guy's just full of dad jokes.
God, this guy
Yeah,
should be
right?
a writer. He's really funny.
But yeah, if I was to recommend one, I'd just start with Mort, because the setup is a little bit more fun. Like there's death, and the character of death is just hard not to like in these books.
I'm definitely gonna check it out, but I appreciate you saying that Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a lesser version.
That was my experience with it. Is like, and I care about these books. Like I said, I've read, I don't know how many times, especially the first one. But I wouldn't describe it as a fantasy version of Hitchhiker's Guide. It's a different thing. And
Cool.
I recommend you. That's a genuine recommendation.
It's a different thing, and I recommend it.
That's how
That's
I have to say.
that's the quote.
That's how you recommend them.
Yep. Alrighty. Anderson, would you like to go next?
Yeah. So my next one, is, Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. So Ayn Rand, most generally known for Atlas Shrugged.
I don't know
The
any of this.
Fountainhead. It's basically a capitalist manifesto. Atlas Shrugged is.
Okay.
There's a speech in it that you can skip, and that it sort of summarizes like the whole book. It's a funny thing because my wife told me, like, you can skip the speech, and I was like, I kept reading. I was like, is this a speech? She's like, no, you'll know it. And when I hit it, I was like, oh, this is the speech. Anyways, that's Atlas Shrugged. I do love that book as well. But Fountainhead I like because it's about these two, well, more than two, but it's about these architects. And it's very obvious that Ayn Rand did her research in architecture before doing it, because she really, it feels well researched. But the attitude of the two architects are just so angsty and artsy that I just related to it on like a deep level. Because you got the one guy that is trying to follow all the rules, and just like he just wants the architecture world to recognize him and what he can do.
Yeah.
And the other guy is like, nah, screw him, I'm great. And it's actually very similar to my movie recommendation time of Amadeus, about the life of Mozart.
Yeah.
Because it's these two like geniuses going at it in totally different ways, and you see the pros and cons of each one. This one guy just has no friends because he blows everyone off, but this other guy has no satisfaction in his work because he's only doing what the man tells him to do, or what. So, really good book. I like it. I like these kind of books where there's some sort of substitute for art, and I just kind of slot my career into it.
Yeah.
In this case, it's architecture, which is pretty darn close. And sometimes the way that Ayn Rand would like describe a building or something, she'll use like artistic terms and paint a picture. And it's just really, it connects well. So
That's cool.
I really enjoyed it.
That's good. She does a good job of actually describing things in a way, like what I say, as you said, a word picture.
Yeah, and just like the way that she would like describe how a building like makes you feel, and the way that someone built it to feel that way, you're like, oh my god, I feel it. Like, I will say I have no idea why it's called.
Sorry.
That was something that like I got to the end of the book and I was like, why was it called that? So maybe I need to reread it and sort of like dive into that a little bit more. But I do find that pretty frustrating when like I don't know why a book was titled such.
Yeah.
And this qualifies for that for sure. So I was like, I don't know.
What title would you give it?
That's a good question. I'm gonna need to mull on that for a second.
All right. Well, while you're thinking about that, Keith, you got another book? I know you're not a big reader.
He only stole from his high school library.
These are the only two books he stole.
He didn't read anything else after.
Second book. We've I brought it up on our first podcast. Um, but the Book of the New Sun, that right? It's one book that was published in 4 parts, so
Uh-oh.
it's normally
Jean
published.
Wolf.
Hang on.
Book is The Shadow of the Torturer, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this away now, and I'll say that's my. I've if you look at the state of these books, I don't know, maybe I'll do this. You can see the one of them is very bent up and well read, and the other one has been gone through once because I've read the first book like 4 times, and I've read the last one once. But
So hold the book to the
just
camera
because
for a little while longer.
it's
Just because
I'm just gonna pick up
there's
one
some
of
lag.
them. Which camera? This camera?
Whichever camera.
Oh,
There's some lag right now. Ooh, there we go. That's a lot better.
Anyway, so I cannot think of any other writer that has done more to influence my thinking of stories and what they are and how they interact with things. It's sort of like what Neil Gaiman kind of talks about,
Mm-hmm.
the idea of stories and what they are and how they play with each other. But reading Gene Wolfe is like somebody actually doing these things and like playing with stories. And so in this particular book, I'm gonna go ahead and like kind of spoil some of the fun because I feel like people generally don't read books when they know that they're having to get into like a 4 book thing, and kind of knowing part of this trick makes it more interesting. So the way the book's written is it's about the main character is this guy he is an apprentice torturer for the Torturers Guild in the city he lives in, and the language of it is it's a first person narrative of the main character is writing the story. So you're reading it as a thing that a person in the world is writing, and you're reading the language and all this stuff, and it has this feel where it feels like some kind of like fantasy basically book.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just kind of weird words that kind of stick out if you're paying attention. For example, all the guilds in his area work out of these towers. So his is called the Minution Tower, and he describes like they Minution or Minuchin, but they let kids into the guild like if they're like orphaned kids that get left at their door, as long as they're shorter than this pole that's sticking out from the hull.
Yeah.
Which is a weird word to use for a tower.
Yeah.
And then you pick up on these little things, and then basically eventually you realize it's a spaceship. It's a rocket. Ooh. And this isn't like a fantasy book. It's something else. And that's the way the whole book is that there's all this stuff that's right in front of you the whole time, but because it's being written by a person who's in the world and doesn't think anything of it, has his own language for things, it's just like fun to let this stuff kind of run over you, and it's not like a neat trick. It's part of what the book is.
Yeah.
And then there's all these things where he's playing with the stories, and it's all a big allegory for because he's like super Catholic. But when you get to the end, again, this is a book that's being written by the main character, and he's writing it down, and then you get to the end, and there's stuff that you learn by the end that makes it so you read the entire thing a different way when you read it again, where you're like, again, this is a book that's being written by a person, so every single sentence and every way that something's worded has a new twist to it, where you're thinking like, why did he say it this way? Why did he present this person in this light when they're saying and doing these things, but he's presenting it like this? Yeah. So it's really fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'd actually be interested in checking it out, but you already spoiled it for me, so I feel like I already know.
Yeah, well, what I described is like I was saying, that's just like a little bit of the fun, and
Hmm.
it's in the first book. It's a thing that you could potentially figure out in the first like 30 pages.
Uh,
So
I I do have a question. So for like the other books, are they like, do they progressively just get longer? Because that's my issue whenever I pick up a new story.
no,
Okay.
they're all like 180 pages or something.
Oh,
They're all
beautiful.
each one's pretty short. Like I was saying,
'Cause-
these are like these two books that are both about the same thickness
Yeah.
are the four books.
Okay.
It's just
Beautiful.
each one of these books divided in half, and that's each book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's even better. Because the last like series I read was like, it was called Assassin's Apprentice, and the first book was like 210 pages, and I loved it. And then the second book was 300 and something pages. It was under 350. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I could do that. And then the fourth book was almost 600 pages, or the third book was almost 600 pages. And I was just like, well,
That's too many
I
pages.
have to finish it now because I've already gone.
Okay,
so
buddy.
far.
On the topic of Gene Wolfe, did you finish the night?
I have not. I've stalled out.
Okay.
He went diving and met the goddess under the water.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh wait. He's back on the wait. No, he did make it back to the boat with his buddies. I forget their names. They've got such fun, funky names.
I got you.
But yeah, he made it back to the boat.
I think it was.
Okay.
Did I get past that? Maybe he's at the volcano already. I think he might be at the volcano.
Oh, how do you know about the volcano?
Yeah, I think I got that far. I think I got all the way to the volcano. I'm just like remembering now what has happened.
I got you.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
We talked about this book in our first podcast because
Oh yeah.
Brad Moore said something about it, and then me and
Yeah.
Anderson both happened to be reading the same book at the same time.
It was very
Which
weird.
is weird.
Yeah, I do need to hop back on it and finish that out because I was enjoying it. The problem is I've been listening to it because I can't find a copy of it
Oh.
anywhere.
That sounds like hard.
But I found an audiobook and I really enjoy listening to it. I just have if I do something while I listen to it, what do I do? The best is if I listen to it while driving because I can just focus in on it. But I just close my eyes, let myself sink into the world.
Yeah.
But if like there are certain everyday tasks I'm doing that I can't do because I'll be distracted from.
That's what I tried doing.
Well,
with
that's
Dune.
what I was gonna say. The way Gene Wolfe writes, I would not recommend trying to listen to it.
I don't think it's the best for sure.
Yeah. It can make things really confusing, I think. Like I think the night might work, but not the books that I was talking about. Like just functionally, if you look at it for a little bit, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, this wouldn't work very well as an audiobook. I don't even think you can get them as an audiobook, at least not the entire thing. Anyway,
Unless
Anderson,
you do the voice
I
for
mean,
it.
I did
Kristian.
think of a title for Fountainhead. It's just a dad joke, but it would be constructive criticism because
Okay.
they're architects.
I
That's all
like
I've
that.
got.
I like that a lot.
I think it's a little too campy for the actual tone of the book, but
Nah, I think it's perfectly campy.
Perfect.
It's like Slaughterhouse 5. Story
Is
about
that your
people
book?
not. No, my last one. I thought about putting that one on.
A dentist.
But yeah, my last one is actually one that I read freshman year of high school, and it was like the first book I sat down and. Wait, what?
Oh, I was gonna say before you say the title, just kind of say things about it, see if we can guess what it is.
Okay.
Unless it's unless it's obscure.
No, it's not. It's not super obscure. This was like the first book that I read in like a single sitting. I sat down. I was like, I'll read like a few pages of it, and I finished the book. It's not super long. I think it's around 200 pages. But I sat down and finished reading it in a whole day. But it's like a coming of age story. The guy who wrote it did a fantastic job. it doesn't really have that happy of an ending. It's actually it's dealing with like trauma and trying to fit in, stories like that. But even the ending where it's like, hey, you did find a group to fit in. They're like, no, you're still fucked up. Sorry. Oh, yeah. This YouTube isn't for kids. I made sure to put that on there. But, like, the main character at the end, like, everyone else is like, yeah, you're still not okay, but, you know, you're going to work through it. Yeah. I will say they did make a movie out of it. And
Stand By Me?
nope.
That's probably much longer than 150 pages, right?
That was a good guess, though.
Yeah, and it was written by a dude.
Yep, written by a dude, and actually the movie was written and directed by the same author.
The author wrote the book and then wrote and directed the adaptation.
Correct.
Whoa.
And it's not Stephen King.
Nope. So, but yeah, and there's one actor in there who eventually became a superhero, and now he's probably wanted for kidnapping or something.
Wait. Tell who's that?
Ezra Miller.
Oh, is this? Oh, Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
There you go.
I like that it was Ezra Miller that got us there.
Yep. So that was it. But
Okay.
yeah, I still have that book. I've reread it like 3 times just because I think I'm a sucker for coming of age stories, whether they're in books, movies, or whatever. But like, I think that one does it so well, and I'm a sucker for tragedy.
Yeah, I don't know the details of that book. That was a book like tons of people around me read. I never got around to.
Yeah.
I watched the movie. I never read the book, but the angst really vibed with me, of course.
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, it's all the things you're saying. It's very sad, but it is kind of a good journey and like interesting.
Yeah,
in all those ways.
The movie definitely keeps the same message of the book, but there's a few different things they do in the book, like go into detail about the main character and what he actually had to deal with, and it does touch upon suicide, so fair warning. So, but yeah, great story in my opinion.
Interesting.
That is my final recommendation.
My last one is Silas Marner by George Eliot. George Eliot, her real name was Mary Ann Evans, but she wrote under George Eliot in order to separate her like personal life from her written career. But Silas Marner is about this Scottish dude, and his search for treasure. And I'll kind of leave it at that. It's interesting the treasure that he ends up with. But it's one of these great things where there's a
It was the friends you made along the way.
Yes. But there's a the inciting incident, like in the first like 5 pages of the book.
Mm-hmm.
You do get a resolution to it, and the resolution to it just kind of makes you like go, oh my gosh, like
yeah.
So it's one of those kind of things. I've started reading another George Eliot, Adam Bede, and I really enjoyed that one as well. But Silas Marner, it's very sweet. It's this old man and his relationship with the town around him, and the people that live there. But yeah, it's good. It's just kind of it's a little bit more slice of lifey in a way than the others that are more like full life experience or something. But it's good. It is good. It was really heartwarming as well.
That's good. Well,
It was
that's a nice touch.
I read or watched that was referencing that or took a bunch from that. And I can't remember what it was. It was recent.
It was a Sonic the Hedgehog 2. There it is.
'Cause I was
uh,
reading about that fairly recently.
Yeah. But cool. That's a good. I would like to check
yeah.
that one out too. All right, Keith, for your final recommendation as we cross over the hour point.
Yeah, well, uh, my last one will
Better be good.
Well, I limited myself to books that I physically own because I
Okay.
feel like if I physically own them, I kept them for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Anyway, my last one is Hyperion by Dan Simmons.
Ooh.
Who
That's cool.
he also he wrote a lot of science fiction. He also wrote The Terror. Did you see the show The Terror?
I
About
don't think so.
okay, it's about these two. It's real world ships that were lost in the Arctic, trying to find the Northwest Passage from
Oh,
England
fun.
to get over the Pacific.
Dope.
Anyway, it's a TV show. It was an AMC show, but the book was a really good time, and he wrote that book. But this is the one I'm recommending. No, this one. It's science fiction, but it's like super loose science fiction, like Star Wars, where it's basically just fantasy. Like it's just
Yeah.
cuckoo banana stuff. But the way that the book is constructed is it is like seven people, seven strangers are on a ship together, going to this planet that has this being on the planet called the Shrike. That's like this big like thing that's made of sharp, and puts its victims on this giant tree and all this big giant sharp tree.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these caves on the planet that the time moves differently inside the caves, and there are these weird leeches that can be put on a person that can cause them to basically live forever because of this parasite that, like, if you die, the parasite brings you back to life because it's a parasite and it needs you to be alive, and you can't die even if you try. Like all
Yeah.
these weird things on this planet. But the point is, you get these seven strangers who are all going to this planet called Hyperion, and they don't know each other. And on the way to Hyperion, they each tell their story about like why they're going, what's relevant to why they're going to Hyperion. So the book is basically seven-ish, um, like long short stories or novellas, and they're each pretty cool. And in case things aren't kind of clicking, it's like a sci-fi Canterbury Tales
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
where group of strangers go in and they entertain each other with stories of why they're going there. And then the book ends at a point where you're like, oh no, what is that? What's gonna happen? And it's cool because there's two. And the second one, it's so
You're cheating. You're only supposed to recommend one book.
well, I'm just saying the first one sets up all this stuff and has this structure of like seven stories, and the
Yeah.
second one just takes what was set up and then makes a novel. It's a completely different structure. It is a straight through novel. It
That's
has a bunch of weird
Interesting.
stuff, and it's just a good like cuckoo bananas, high like fantasy sci-fi story, um, with just a bunch of neat ideas. And he's a good writer.
That's
Um,
nifty.
don't he's a little politically a little touchy,
Ooh, can't wait to do my research there.
but I mean we
Find
already kind
out.
of touched on that with Ayn Rand.
Hilarious.
Hey, don't come after my favorite author. Brilliant
Oh,
genius.
that was a good recommendation. I like that. I'm actually I feel like I know you a little bit better now, and I did not realize you were such a sci-fi fan.
Yeah,
Oh
I didn't
really?
either. Well, I mean, like an old school sci-fi.
Yeah.
You know, like
Hmm.
Like as you were saying it, I was like,
it
no,
ma-
that tracks. But
well, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's like, yeah, this is like, there's nothing here that's surprising, really. It's
yeah.
like, oh, yeah,
Yeah,
just didn't know.
I think these might be the Hyperion is the newest thing, and I think they came out in the early '90s. um yeah, I like old stuff, I guess. What's
Nifty.
That's my problem with like comics is everything I read is like 30 years or older.
I don't think that's a problem.
I mean, things
Oh
need
no,
to.
this came out in the 80s.
Oof.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, I didn't. The oldest thing I suggested came out in 1989.
You mean the most
Youngest?
recent?
Most
Yeah,
recent.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, the youngest.
Wow.
That's,
All right. So.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, I like sci-fi. What would you have pegged me as?
I mean, I guess crime noir. I don't know.
Oh, I don't even know if I've ever read like a noir crime book.
Oh my god, there's a
No.
good one if I can remember the name of it.
I
'cause-
no. Okay, I've read like some, like I've read like Dashiell Hammett books.
That's it. Yeah, one of his.
No,
really
see,
good.
yeah, I just would have pegged you as just like a Stephen King stan and just
Yeah,
horror.
horror. Maybe some
Yeah,
other
I read a
noir.
lot of horror. I read a lot of horror and science fiction. That is
I'm
that does
slow-
track.
I'm slowly getting into the horror stuff. There's not much that I've read, but I like a few of them.
It's tough.
I just haven't been to a bookstore in a while. I just need to go back to like the Book Nook and just pillage some some back sections of the library of the bookstore. See what treasure I find.
I gotta let you know next time Marietta has one of their library sales because you can buy
Oh,
a
yes.
single book for like 25 cents. And I got a bunch of fantasy books, R.A. Salvatore books, for that.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it.
somebody recommended that I do a Drizzt
Oh my
or
god,
Drizzt.
Drizzt.
Yeah, Drizzt.
Drizzt is so good.
Because I did that Vampire Hunter D and then I did a Sephiroth and I was like,
Mhm.
I'm kind of doing a theme here. And then
Yep.
the next, and then somebody recommended a Drizzt because it's a
I will
long
say one of the Drizzt books was almost on my list. It was the second one. Like the first one's really good, don't get me wrong, but like the second one is Exile is probably one of the better ones. Granted, I've read like 15 of the books and there's like 33 in the series.
Lord.
Yeah, it's
You
a
ever
lot.
try to like check
Yeah, see, I
out the
can't do that.
Warhammer thing before?
Don't touch it.
Yeah,
'Cause-
see, I'm already into D&D, so I know how it's going to go.
Yeah, I looked into it a little bit, watched some YouTube videos a couple weeks ago, and then I decided, okay, let's pull up this audiobook, do that while I'm drawing, and that man, I don't think I even got a page in. I was just like, there's too many, just like throwing out specialized terms that I'm not vibing with this.
That's how I felt about the Dune book, because I had the same issue that Anderson had with whatever audiobook you were talking about, where I was trying to listen to the Dune, like the first Dune book or
Yeah.
whatever, and every like 2 minutes, I don't know where I was at, I don't know what was going on,
Yeah.
so I had to keep rewinding it, and he just kept
Here's the
using
thing.
words that I didn't get.
I got you. I'll do sometimes if like I'm reading a science fiction book, and some other books, is I'll read like the first third of it, and that pretty much sets it up so that I know all the characters, I know all the specialized terms. Nothing's gonna trip me up if I listen to it, so I can physically read the first chunk of it, and then I'll listen to the audiobook, after that.
That's actually pretty smart. I don't.
Ain't
hate
nobody
that
got
idea.
time for that.
That works out for me. I don't know how you get to bed at night, but that's how I get to bed.
Well, I broke my body in college where reading just put me to sleep. Like I somehow just associated reading with sleep. So now I pick up a book to read and I'm 1 or 2 pages and I'm good. Like I just can't stay awake reading a book. So I mean, it works for me in the evenings, but as a way to go to sleep, but not as much to actually read the book.
Keith, you got a question, by the way, from Mr. Sparrow. He's asking how the brush is working out. He said those always seem so strange to use, but looks like it wasn't a problem for you.
It's super finicky still. Like I feel like this thing could have been so much better if I had just used my normal tools. Um, a lot of the lines just come out a little bit. They're just kind of coming out clumsy, which
Yeah.
is to be expected with like a new tool. Whereas like I'm doing these skulls and it's just like that was all right. That was all right. I'm just gonna blotch them in and then I'll fine tune them later and it'll look like I meant for it to be that way.
I will say it's hard to see it from a distance, but it does seem a little bit more scratchy.
Oh, it's definitely scratchy. Like if you
But like more so than like your
look,
usual, because you
look at it,
usually tend
yeah,
to build up your values. But yeah,
look at his face. That's so scratchy. Like normally I'll do much harder edges,
you would do
much
like
more
more
like
closed shapes. Yeah, closed
yeah,
blacks and
more defined graphical stuff. Um, but yeah, like with this, I'm just not comfortable enough to do smooth lines with it, so I'm having to be kind of scratchy with it, which is okay, because I kind of planned that with what I'm doing. It's like
yeah.
this was designed for it to work out if I decide to be scratchy. Um, I've I need to do this smoke.
If it helps, it looks better than anything I could do. So I don't think that helps.
Oh man, I'm not going to use it now, but this is my new favorite tool that I keep next to my desk.
It's
Never
a hair
thought to just
dryer.
have a hair dryer. Yeah, I bust it out all the time now. Because I'll be inking
uh,
something and then I'll be like, that's a big blotch and I gotta wait. I don't want to mess that up. And now I just blast it for a few seconds to kill it and then I can keep going.
just
And
blast it.
and I started messing around with more ink washes and stuff, so being able to just and move on has been pretty
I do want to
cool.
fiddle with some ink wash.
Yeah,
I
every
got a
now and then
commission to do a creature from the Black Lagoon. This
I want a commission to do the creature from the Black Lagoon.
I know, right?
Yeah, they wanted ink wash.
No, but I'm thinking of playing with it because I'm gonna do some play with some water effects to get like the ripples that show on your skin when you're under the water.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we'll see if I can pull it off.
Yeah,
Well,
the every now and then I get like I'll see somebody who's doing watercolor, ink wash. It's normally one of those two things, and I just get super jealous and I just want to do it. And then I get sidetracked on this thing I'm not very good at. I don't have a lot of experience with, and instead I ultimately just like I need to be just spending more time on the thing I actually do to get better at the thing that people actually expect me to be doing, and that I functionally need to get better at, just like straight ink stuff. Um, and I don't know if you can relate to that, but it happens all the time.
Yeah, it's 6 and 1/2 dozen the other.
I can't relate.
Oh,
It's nice. Sounds like a stressful
it's
thing.
It is.
I hope you're comfortable not inking stuff when you get to MomoCon, though, because I pitched a panel idea to Jamie with possibly you two joining.
Is this
So,
the where we make a comic live?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm here for that.
So it'll be a good time.
what about inking? You're saying we can't ink?
I mean, you can, but it's got to be a quick thing.
I mean,
I'll probably just use ink. Like I'll probably
what I was
just
saying.
get out the big brushes and just go straight to it because that'll be fastest.
Yeah,
Big
I was
boy
going to get a
brushes.
Sharpie as a real artist.
Yeah.
Ugh. Felt weird. But yeah,
All right.
you guys have anything else you want to talk about or share with everyone before we end the stream?
Nope. I think that's gonna be it.
Anything coming up that people should know about? You got your comic coming to Webtoons next month, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Next, the March 28th,
2 months.
my comic will be on. No, just the end of this month.
Oh, sorry.
Because
Yeah, this is
March 28th, the Cyber League Baseball, the Naturals will the first episode will go on Webtoon. You can read a teaser there now. And in the meantime, you can see all the teams from the universe, all their baseball cards on my Instagram, and think that's it.
Cool. Yeah, and your Instagram is on the description, so people can find you easily.
Cool.
It'd be also this is on your YouTube account. So.
YouTube.
What about you, Keith? Anything else?
I got nothing to report.
Cool.
Yeah, just like, nope, nothing to report today.
Coolio.
Stuff that's still under the hat.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Get that
if anybody wants to see his art, you can always check out his Instagram. It's cool stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much all we got. I think we'll be back next month.
Yeah, I was gonna look at the calendar.
Yeah, we'll figure it out off stream. But yeah, for the most part, we should be able
Cool.
to because it's a week before I get married. So that's my big thing.
Oh,
Woo woo!
Yeah,
shoot. I'm excited. We're in a
Very fun.
boogie.
it was a good time. But yeah, well, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Luke. It was so nice of you to comment, and I appreciate you joining us. But yeah, everyone, have a good rest of your evening. Enjoy the art, and we'll